අරවානිවන් අබ පුර තොර අකුළු ලමින් සුරකින බැවින් සිරිදලඳා සමිඳු පෙමින් පරසතු කුසුම් උඩුගුවනි විසුරුවමින් පෙරහැර පවත්වති දෙවියෝ ඔබේ නමින්.
ඔබ සැමට උතුම් දළදා සම්දු සරණයි. අද මේ සන්ධ්‍යාව මහනුවර නගරයේ උත්සව ශ්‍රේණියෙන් ඇලෙලා ඓතිහාසික කන්දුඩරට ඇසල පෙරහැර මහා මංගල්‍යයේ දෙවනි රන්දෝලි පෙරහර වීදි සංචාරය කිරීම සඳහා සියලු කටයුතු සූදානම්. උතුම් දළදා හාමුදුරන් විශේෂී වාර්ෂිකව පවත්වන සතර මහා මංගල්‍යයන් අතරේ වසරේ වැදගත්ම පූජෝපහාර මංගල්‍ය තමයි ඇසල පෙරහැර මහා මංගල්‍ය. ඒ නිසාවෙන් අගෝස්තුවේ ඓතිහාසික කන්දුඩරට ඇසල පෙරහැර මහා මංගල්‍ය පැවැත්වෙනවා. අද දෙවන රන්දෝලි පෙරහර වීදි සරණ දිනය. ඒ නිසාවෙන් මේ පෙරහැරේ සිරි විසිතුර දැක බලා ගැනීම සඳහා මහනුවර නගරයට විශාල ජන සංඛ්‍යාවක් පැමිණ තිබෙනවා. නිවසේ රැඳී සිටින ඔබට අපේ මේ පෙරහැරේ සිරි විසිතුර සජීව ගෙන එන සූදානම්. ඒ සඳහා අපි සියලු කටයුතු සූදානම් කර තිබෙනවා. ඒ නිසාවෙන් ඔබට බොහොම ගෞරවයෙන් ආරාධනා කර සිටිනවා එන්න අපිත් සමග එකතු වන්න. ඓතිහාසික කන්දුඩරට ඇසල පෙරහැර මහා මංගල්‍යයේ දෙවන රන්දෝලි පෙරහරේ සිරි විසිතුර සජීවීව දැක ගන්න. ගෝෂි.
நன்றி ரோகன. அனைவருக்கும் இனிய மாலை வணக்கம். இது கண்டி அசல பெரகராவினுடைய இரண்டாவது ரந்தோலி பெரகரா மிகவும் பிரம்மாண்டமான முறையில் வீதி வலம் வந்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றது. அனைவருக்கும் இறையருள் வேண்டி பிரார்த்திப்பதுடன் இக்காட்சிகளை நேரடியாக வீட்டில் இருந்தபடியே POTV 20-310 டயலாக் தொலைக்காட்சி 119 ஃப்ரீசெட் 2 மற்றும் தலதா மாளிகையினுடைய ஃபேஸ்புக் யூடியூப் பக்கங்களினூடாக நேரடியாக கண்டுகளிக்க முடியும். இது கண்டி அசல பெரகரா 2023. அனைவரும் வருக, இறையருள் பெருக. சமோதா, இதோ உங்களுக்கான நேரம்.
Thanks, Goshi. The citadel of Kandy is all alight for yet another day of pageantry, seeking blessings for bountiful harvest and life-giving waters for a prosperous country. The streets are lined with thousands of people, and the second Randoli Procession is ready to take on the streets, showering blessings of the Lord Buddha on all of us. If you are joining us from the comfort of your home, tune in to Pure TV channel number 20 and 310, Dialogue TV channel number 119, Freeset channel number 2, and all the social media platforms of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Media Bureau. Stay tuned.
Dalada Samindu Pihitai. We are delighted to welcome you to the special live broadcast of the second Randoli Procession of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023, brought to you by the Media and Special Projects Bureau of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Kandy. You are now seeing the Perahera officials obtaining the permission and blessings of the Diyavadara Nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic, before commencing the This is the handing over of keys by the Diyavadara Nilame to the officiating bhikkhus. Now, the Diyavadara Nilame will be making his way from the upper level, Ihalamalaya, to the lower level of the chamber, known as the Pathamalaya of the Vedasitina Maligawa, and he is seen ceremoniously and reverentially carrying the Perahera casket under the protection of the custodian venerating prelate of the Malwatu Mahaviharaya, Venerable Thibbatuwave Medankara Vidana Theru. towards the ceremonial tusker under much veneration amidst the offering of light sounds in tusker. We are now seeing the Perahera casket, which contains 32 relics of Lord Buddha being placed within the Randoli that is mounted on the lavishly costumed tusker who will uplift the majesty of this great procession. This is the devout moment when the royal tusker shall step majestically down from the Mahawahagala, the main entrance, onto the Sandagala, the moonstone, amidst the tune of traditional Nagasingham music in preparation to parade the streets of the Kandian city. Today, the royal tusker will be Singharaja, belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligawa. On this year 2023, we are witnessing the grace of the 1713th Perahera that had begun during the reign of King Kirtishri Meghavarna, who pledged that the relics must be carried around the city once a year, and this tradition still continues, followed by the succession of many ruling kings, prime ministers, and presidents of our country.
We are seeing pictures of the whip crackers walking up front with the sound of thundering whips piercing through the skies. Our masters who are tasked with clearing the way for the sacred relic casket and the king.
When looking back at history in the ancient times, it was the ruling king who would parade the streets in the Perahera, but now it is the Diyavadana Nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, who will resemble the king in the modern day Perahera.
The Perahera is believed to be held in prayer for timely rainfall, and the elements of the Perahera is structured in a symbolical way that it paints the imagery of a rainfall. Rain would never be showered without the striking sound of thunder, and thunder to pay homage to the rain gods, requesting for life-giving waters for a bountiful harvest.
The whipmaster's duty is handed down from generation to generation of their clans, and only those who have mastered the art of whip cracking will be taken to participate in the Kandy Esala Perahera. According to traditions, a Perahera which does not have this pedigree are not even being worth called such.
In fact, the people lining the streets are so excited that the Perahera has commenced, we can see a loud cheer coming from the onlookers.
In single file, we see these whipmasters carefully manipulating their whip that is nearly 7 feet in length and is made fully out of natural materials known as niyaga and navapatta, which indicates how traditions have been preserved and the authentic methods have not changed throughout the parading history of 1713 years.
It can be noticed how these whipmasters are untying the knots that are formed with the whipping, and this is symbolic to the various problems that we face in this journey of life, where we too spend a careful expense of mind in untying our problems down our own walk in our own journeys of life.
Just like how Chamoda mentioned about the cheer that we hear from the audience, we also see that these onlookers who are seated around the city of Kandy to witness this Perahera can be seen throwing thousands of coins to the streets in the belief that this practice will ward off any evil from their loved ones and for blessings from the sacred tooth relic.
Indeed, and also it is a beautiful tradition that highlights the basis of giving, offering and sharing among the people of our land, which is Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankans are among the top in the world giving index, that is indeed an outcome from the social influence of Lord Buddha's teachings and preachings.
An ancient poem translated from the book Sangarajavata recites the story of the Kandy Esala Perahera as follows. The kingdom of Senkadagala, the procession from the month of Esala, held from times ago in favor of the gods above, led by the grace of the Buddha, followed by the deities, the Perahera shall perambulate, just as the kings did commemorate.
And with that poem, we are moving on to the second segment of the Perahera, which are the fire acrobats. Rain does not come with thunder alone. Just like lightning flashes across the skies, the procession too has its flashes of light dancing across the faces of the people lining the streets to watch. These are the fire dancers who are offering fire, inviting the rain gods to water our lands with rain.
Even though it seems very paradox to learn that we offer fire to seek for water, this phenomenon of nature is magnificently depicted by this group of fireball dancers who perform this thrilling stunt of acrobatics while illustrating how lightning comes with the rain.
We can see very young individuals providing us the proof that these traditions will be preserved for many more years to come.
Back in history, Kandy and performing arts have been classified into 5 variants, which were known as Wahala Ilangama, Singakkara Ilangama, Tambarapitukkara Ilangama, Natum Ilangama, and Kavikara Maduwa. Interestingly, it was the king's order that all 5 of these classifications must be performed in the Perahera, which is a royal order that is still being obeyed since the ancient times till the modern days.
The splendor of this dance is seen when a large group of people perform simultaneously, merging their various fiery elements into an amazing display of light and heat.
The classification of Vahala Ilangama that I mentioned before comprises of acts that create a sense of thrill among the spectators, and the fireball dance we see in front of us is one such example of a performing art that belongs to the Vahala Ilangama.
In fact, if you observed this dance closely, we could have seen that it is performed in 3 levels that are known as Bin Talaya, which is the lower level, Mada Talaya, which is the mid level, and Ahas Talaya, which is the sky level. That is definitely the highlight of this episode of Fireball Dance.
These fireball dancers are trained by Mr. E.D. Tilakaratna of the Ragama Walpula Aesthetic Academy, who have been performing in the Kandy Esala Perahera for many years. And on this occasion itself, we are seeing not just one, but several generations of artists representing the team of fireball dancers.
The sun, moon, earth, universe, solar month, night and day are all cyclic, and the fireball dance highlighted those universal cycles. And following the fireball dances, we are seeing the Buddhist flag bearers coming into sight.
Next in line of this procession, as mentioned by Chamoda, are the Buddhist flag bearers who are clad in white national costumes while carrying the most respected flag of Buddhism, being preceded by the national flag of Sri Lanka. The sight of these Buddhist flags create a sense of tranquility among the spectators, reminding us the fact that this procession is in celebration, devotion, and as an offering to the great Lord Buddha.
The Buddhist flag is a symbol of faith and peace. The hexacolors of the flag represents the colors of the aura that emanated from the body of Lord Buddha when he attained enlightenment under the
The horizontal strips represent the races of the world living in harmony, while the vertical strips represent eternal world peace.
And also the colors display his preachings. The symbolic identities of these colors are illustrated as blue for universal compassion, yellow for the middle path, red for blessings, white for purity and liberation, and orange for the unshakable wisdom.
This ceremonious procession is performed in adulation of the living Buddha and as well as a paramita or act of kindness for the future Buddha. The six-colored flag is displayed in ceremonious form to remind people of the great scope and depth of the Dhamma that was preached by Lord Buddha. The flag bearers create a sense of unlimited compassion of the Buddha. This sight truly calms the undisciplined, wayward minds and focuses them on love and compassion that radiates across the universe, the teachings of Lord Buddha.
In fact, these been starring this segment in the Perahera for many years. The white-clad flag bearers remind the people of the way that the Dhamma impacted their lives from the day the sacred tooth relic was brought to the island of Sri Lanka. And also the calm atmosphere symbolically portrays the way to end the cycle of life or the samsara.
Following the Buddhist flags, we are now seeing the state flags represented once again by the inmates of the Pallekele open prison camp. The unique collection of flags in front of us are known as the provincial flags. These include the uniquely designed flags for the 12 states and 9 counties that were under the rule of the ancient Kandian kingdom.
It was the tradition that the respective chieftain of the state, known as the Raterala, would participate in the Perahera with their respective flag that is unique to their state to showcase their loyalty towards the king. While this traditional display reminds us on the glory and sovereignty of the ancient Senkadagala kingdom, it also represents the symbol of governance in compliance of the 10 great leadership qualities preached by Lord Buddha, known as the Dasa Raja Dharmaya.
The flags seen here could be identified as the sun and moon flag of the Satara Koralaya, the lion flag of the Sat Koralaya, the white flag of Matale, silk flag of Sabaragamuwa, the flag of the Beherunda Pakshiya of the Tunkoralaya, the peacock flag of Uwavellassa, and the lotus flag of Udapalata, which represent the states of Sri Lanka.
The provincial flags are followed by the county flags that represents the counties of Wellassa, Bintanna, Tamankaduwa, Udunuwara, Yatinuwara, Dumbara, Hewahata, Kothmale, Udabuladgama and Pathabuladgama.
Following the state flags, we are seeing the brass flags, which are led by Mr. Ajit Mahendra.
And these are the same flags we saw before being displayed in metallic form. And these are the brass flag bearers who remind us of the proud heritage and the art and culture of the Kandian kingdom.
As mentioned by Chamuda, these brass stands are metallic representations of the flags that belong to the 9 states and 12 counties, using its exact elements that are carved with great precision and attention to many details, which certainly portray the great artistry that takes a lot of time, patience, and energy.
In fact, Nilesh, back in the days of yore, there was a separate clan, or rather a lineage or a gurukulaya, who were dedicated for these brass work.
Belong to the Navandanna clan or Gurukulaya, who were the same ancestors who used to make beautiful gold, silver and brass ornaments with detailed engravings embedded with precious gems for the king, and as offerings to the sacred tooth relic and for the procession.
Indeed, whoever who visits the Sri Dalada Maligawa would not miss to notice that these fine engravings are there throughout the premises also.
Is still being carried out even after many decades in the same exact villages of Kala Sirigama and Kalapura that are in the area of Gadaladeniya in the Udunura county, that is still famous for its engravings and architecture. Walking in great discipline in their calm and solid nature are the army of sword bearers who provide protection to the Perahera casket, and these sword bearers are being represented by the Angampura team of the Sri Lanka Air Force.
Clad in a white sarong and a white headdress, this army is seen carrying the raised swords, not in warfare but in a disciplined walk of calm and serenity. The symbolic idea of these sword bearers is the historic protection that was provided with utmost might to the sacred tooth relic.
From the Anuradhapura era to the Kandian era, there have been several battles over the tooth relic, and it has always been protected by the patriot warriors. Also, if not for them, we would have lost the sacred tooth relic.
Indeed, for those who know about the history of the sacred tooth relic would be patriotically proud. And we are seeing the Peramunerala coming into sight.
We now see the most magnificent sight of the Perahera, which is the arrival of the very first elephant who shall carry the Peramunerala. It is the norm of the Perahera that the Peramunerala, or the front runner of the procession, is the first person on elephant back, and neither officials nor elephants are permitted to parade before the Peramunerala. And this evening of the second Randoli Procession, it's being led by this majestic elephant banda belonging to the Honorable Diyavadana Nilame of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, Honorable Pradeep Nilangadala.
Clad in the white traditional costume that comprises of the white jacket and the triangular hat, the Peramunerala is carrying the secretarial scroll known as the Lanka meteor, which is encased in a long cylindrical casket. The particular scroll that is encased in this casket is made of olla leaves, a traditional form of paper that the native Sri Lankans used. And this scroll contains a full description of the procession, the royal duties and the assets affiliated to the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
This is the arrival of the first Havisi troupe that represents the official musical ensemble of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, that is per tradition, which they practice with majestic skill. In fact, no Panchaturya Vadana or traditional orchestra of music is permitted before the Havisi, as per the rule of the Kandy Perahera tradition. Sri Lanka is rich with its own genres of traditional music, and Havisi, which is typified as the authentic sound of Sri Lanka. The history of Havisi takes us back to the time when the sapling of the Jayashree Mahabodhi tree was brought down to Sri Lanka by Sanghamitta Thirani, and this evidence marks the fact that Havisi is the oldest traditional orchestra and Buddhist sound offering in Sri Lankan heritage.
Havisi is the most prominent orchestra of the five-fold musical instruments that too has its own variants and are authentic to various parts of the country. No Kandy Esala Perahera is the pure domination of upcountry traditional arts. Wherefore, this particular Havisi instrumental performance belongs to the upcountry tradition of Havisi, which is known as Udurata Havisi in Sinhalese. five-fold musical instruments are recognized by the Sinhalese music culture as the Panchathuryanada, and it is noted as Arthatha, the instruments which are played by both hands, Vithatha, the instrument played using sticks, Vitathathatha, the instruments played using hands and a stick, Gana, the instruments which are dashed with each other, and Susira instruments that are blown. This arrangement of the upcountry ensemble of Hevisi consists of 4 out of the 5 mentioned tunes, except for the Gataberea that represents the Arthatha tunes.
The musicianship of Hevisi in the Kandy Esala Perahera and for the daily rituals of the Sri Dalada Maligawa are assigned to the most skilled lineages of Hevisi drummers, who are Uduwela, Ihalavela, Malagambana and Molagoda, which represented the first row of the Hevisi troupe while marching to the beat of the Hevisi drums.
And we are seeing the Gajanayaka Nilame coming into sight. The Gajanayaka Nilame is the designated official who is in charge of the troop of elephants who will be walking in the procession today.
The tusker carrying the Gajanayaka Nilame is Kot Teraja.
According to the tradition, the Gajanayaka Nilame obtains the Ankusaya from the Devadana Nilame after bowing down in respect and obtaining his blessings, and it is a custom of the Perahera that not an official will proceed in the Perahera without the blessings or symbol that is handed over by the respective lay custodian.
Now we see the entrance of the first dance act of this evening's second Randoli Procession, and this is the Bulat Pade dance that is represented by Mr. Nalin Jayasekara of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
This Bulat Pade dance is one of the main gesture to the audience. The dancers carry a heap of betel leaves on a white cloth with both hands and dances in style and discipline using the footwork to the tunes of the Gataberea.
The Bulat Padaya is in fact a ritualistic dance that is performed in the healing rituals or Shanti Karma across upcountry, low country and Sabaragamu traditions. And here we are seeing the upcountry version of the Bulat Padaya, which originates from the Kohomba Kankaria healing rituals as one of the Hat Padaya or 7 dance episodes that comprise of the Bulat Padaya, the Kotala Padaya, Mal Padaya, Salu Padaya, Pol Padaya, Yahan Mutti Padaya and
In fact, bulat, or the heap of beetle, plays a dominant role in the Sri Lankan tradition, where it is considered as the most respected accompaniment for worship and invitation. And the positivity is that these traditions still continued even among the young generations who don't forget to worship their elders with a heap of beetle on an auspicious occasion.
Following the Bulat Pade dance, we now see an official carrying a Buddhist flag to symbolize that this is truly a Buddhist Perahera. And the elephant we see here is Gajaba, belonging to Mr. Ranjit Vijay of the Yakkala Moranwatta Devalaya. Gajaba was once an aggressive elephant who dominated the wilds of Galgamua while destroying the crops and lifestyles of villagers. In fact, he was auctioned due to this reason in the year 1991. Kandy Esala Perahera this evening, indeed tamed by love and care as shown by his mahouts and owners. And we see Gajaba making his waves to the camera. Following Gajaba, we now see the Thalam dance performance that is being trained and led by Mr. Nimesh Sumanaratna of the Chandananda Buddhist College in Kandy.
The Talampata, or the small set of cymbals, are a vital instrument used in all forms of traditional dancing in Sri Lanka and also in India to maintain the pace and rhythm of the dance, which is technically mentioned as the Tith Matra. But here, the Thalam dance considers them, which aligns the footwork and the hand movements accordingly.
The young performers dash these cymbals in the choreographed rhythm and perform a dance that creates both horizontal and vertical line movements in this pace, using the right moves that are designated in maintaining the cultural element of the act.
The Talampata dance is recognized as a Gana dance due to the use of the Talampata as the main dance tool, which belongs to the Gana variant of the Panchaturya Nada. This evolves its way from the Gananatum due to the mere reason of how these artists dash their thalam with each other as a part of their dance performance.
At the same time, the dancers have not failed to add beauty to the visual appearance of the dance through their costumes and props. We see vibrant and bright colored costumes worn by the artists, and also the use of bright colored sheaves of cloth that are attached to both the ends of the thalam, which certainly creates a picturesque attraction as it swings through the air when the dancers use the thalam. Following the Thalam dance troupe, we see the next generation of tuskers who are ready to take up the responsibility of the Kandy Esala Perahera in the future years. In the middle, we have the tusker Pulatisiraja belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligawa, who is accompanied by the tuskers Sindhu and Raju belonging to the Mahanayaka Theros of the Shyamopali Mahanikaya, represented by the chapters of Amalwatu and Askiri. Pulatisiraja was gifted to Sri Lanka by the former president of Sri Lanka, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksha, in the year 2017, and the tuskers Sindhu and Raju were gifted from the Pinnavala Elephant Orphanage in the year 2009.
We can see canopies of different shapes and types representing the protection provided to the sacred tooth relic.
It can be interestingly noticed, Chamoda, how we see the style of bokkala being used in the costume that is worn by Pulatisiraja, technically a design that is used in history, and it's redesigned to suit the modern atmosphere.
Indeed, it matches the modern atmosphere. And the people who are designing these clothes take great passion and commitment to provide for these elephants with so much pride for being a part of these traditions.
That is truly commendable. Next, we see the Nayandi dance troupe that is trained by Mr. Saman Nilvitha.
We are seeing pictures of the citadel of Kandy, all alight today for the second Randoli Procession. The Nayandi dance is one of the most significant dance performances of the upcountry tradition that holds a very prominent position in the Kandy Esala Perahera, especially during the Kumbal Perahera festivities, and today we see how it is being used in the Randoli Procession. The word Nayandi is in fact the name of the costume that is worn by the Nayandi dancers, which is the same that is replaced with a cloth turban with a knot on the head center that is taking the shape of a coupe.
The specialty of the Nayandi dance is that this dance is primarily performed by a primitive Kandian dance artists who have not yet been attained reverentially as a West dancer. And any dance artist who aspires to be crowned as a Kandian West dancer would first need to master the skill of Nayandi in order to proceed.
The Nayandi dance is said to be belonging to the classification of Rupanatum due to the visual richness and attraction it belongs to the dance. And also it is known as Adaves, meaning half of the West costume, and at times even known as Tanikachya, that relates to the special head turban that is worn by the Nayandi dancers.
Just like the primitive Kandian dancers who we spoke in Nayandi, this is a primitive majestic tusker who shall take strides in the Kandy Esala Perahera in the future. He is none other than Miyan Kumara, belonging to Venerable Bellangwila Dhammaratana Thero, the chief incumbent of the Bellangwila Rajamahawihara in Colombo. And this is more than he has visited Kandy for more than 7 years at a stretch, and it's great to see him in the procession of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, dressed in the traditional Bokkala costume.
Following Miyan Kumara, we are seeing the Raban Krida coming into sight. The Rabana, or the hand tambourine, is a very popular object used in the folk dancing traditions in Sri Lanka. But this is no such dance, even though we see the presence of the tambourine in play. This performance, which involves spinning of the tambourine, which makes it more of a sporting performance than a dance item. And that is why this act is known as the Raban Karakavima or Raban Krida in Sinhalese.
There are many forms of Raban in Sri Lanka. We have the Maharabana or the Banku Rabana, which is a large drum that is played by multiple artists at the same time. The Virindu Rabana, that is played while singing comical verses of Virindu, and the Atrabana, which we see now, is the most prominently seen in dance-related performance. And this version of the Atrabana, which is known as the Karakavime Rabana,
The spinning game of the Rabana can be identified as a developed performance of the Raban dance. We see several generations of artists who are at different age levels, young to senior, who have developed this intrinsic skill from childhood by learning to spin various objects.
The spinning game of Raban can be identified as a developed performance of the Raban dance. We see several generations of artists in this dance, and the highlighted episode of this act is when they throw the tambourines towards the sky and surprisingly catch the Raban on their sticks from their hand with no room for failure. And this troupe of Raban spinners are being represented by Mr. Aryapala Wijayamanna.
The artists do not forget to infuse several creative twists to the play of Rabana, where some artists create episodes of changing their Rabana with their colleagues. We can see a very young performer balancing not only one but 6 tambourines on a stand and by the hand. This Raban performance requires a great skill and attention to detail and precision because they are balancing them on their foreheads and their mouths.
Elephants have been used as mascots of the Sri Lanka army since many years, and once they are done with their service and retired, they are gifted to temples to be used in cultural activities. And here we see Kandula IV, who belongs to the chief incumbent of the Kotalavala Sankapiti Vihara, Venerable Kanangama Narada Thero, who is known as Kandula Veera, and Kandula V, who belongs to Mr. Udara Galapatti of Giriyulla, who is now known as the Elephant Bibila.
And we are seeing a troupe of Tammatam players coming into sight.
And these Tammatam instrumentalists are being led by Mr. Sujit Ananda.
The Tammatama, also known as the Pokurbere in Sinhalese and the kettle drum in English, is a vital instrument in the Hevisi ensemble that takes a predominant position in the Perahera as the main sound offering towards the impending requalities of worship.
However, this act celebrates the Thammatam as an individual performance, excluding any other musical instrument that we saw in the Hevisi troupe. The amazing feature about this Thammatam performance is that we see both playing and dancing with the Thammattama, which is evidently why it is recognized as the Thammattam Netuma or the Thammattam dance. This is truly the fascinating beauty of Sri Lanka, of what we are blessed with. There are many shrines in Sri Lanka that is dedicated towards the venerating Lord Sumana Saman, and these two elephants are representing two such main shrines. On the left, we see the elephant Saliya belonging to Venerable Urlayavatte Dhammarakkhita Theru, the chief incumbent of the Mahiyangana Rajamaha Viharaya, which is in fact the home of the Mahiyangana Sumana Saman Devalaya. And on the other side, we see the elephant Kandulatissa belonging to the Sabaragamu Mahasaman Devalaya. Following Saliya and Kandulatissa, we are now seeing the mixed folk dance that is being trained by Mr. P.C.B. Vijayasuriya.
Traditional dancing in Sri Lanka is segregated into two main types, which are Shastriya Natum, or dance performances that are based on healing rituals, and the other Natum being Gami Natum, the fun but four different folk dance performances being danced simultaneously in the same spotlight.
Here we see the dance artists presenting four different folk dances, which are the Thalampata, the Likeli, Rabang and the Savarang, which we would see being performed as individual dance items across the 5 segments of this majestic Perahera. And this dance act is certainly a snapshot of the beauty of Sri Lankan folk culture.
Folk dancing is also known as Jananatum or Gaminatum, which are dance items that represents the culture of the native village lifestyle of Sri Lanka. These dance acts have no ritualistic regulations that need to be strictly adhered to in comparison to the Shastriya dance acts. In fact, there is a lot of space left for creativity in designing and choreographing, and in the costumes and tunes and all the other elements of attraction. But we need to keep in mind not to harm the authenticity of the dance.
Represented as one team, but we could carefully observe how they break themselves into sub-teams among themselves based on their designated dance. It is true that it is the same music that is being played for the whole group, but this music plays the tune for 4 different dance acts that involve 4 different props and 4 different steps of dance which are being carefully presented to maintain their cultural identity. Now we see the elephant Madhu belonging to Venerable Murundeniya Dhammaratana Thero, the chief incumbent of the Mutiyangana Rajamahaviharaya in Badulla. Madhu was found as a baby elephant caught in a snare in the early 1990s, and after his rescue at the Udawalawa at Tatrusevana, he was gifted to the Mutiyangana Rajamahaviharaya in the year 1995. Did you know, Chamoda, that an interesting feature of Madhu is that unlike other elephants, he is one of the least pigmented in his face, where we see a lot of pink in the faces of other.
Very interesting fact to learn about Madhu. And following Madhu, we see a troupe of Lekeli dancers.
And this team of Lekeli is being represented once again by Mr. Nimesh Sumanaratna of the Chandananda Buddhist College in Kandy.
Lekeli is also another interesting folk dance of the upcountry tradition that consists of performers having 2 wooden sticks on their hands. They shall dash them together in a rhythm individually and even among pairs or at times in groups.
Being a folk dance itself, this dance too sets a village picture for the audience, but the origin of the exact movements performed can be guessed as the ancient practices for war battles among the folk lifestyle, as the name of the dance itself with the word Kelia translates to battle in English.
And also it is believed that this dance takes after the traditional martial arts which was there in the country known as Angampura.
Lekeli is one of the dance performances which has been performed since more than centuries ago, which is proved by the evidence that is still visible to all of us. In fact, the wooden carvings of the Ambekke Kataragama Devalaya that belongs to the Gampula era too portrays a pictorial carving that illustrates a Lekeli performance.
Apart from the Sri Lankan concept of the Lekeli dance, which we identify as an upcountry folk dance performance, we see much similar versions in the neighboring cultures.
We now see a very special and majestic tusker of the Dalada Perahera this evening, and he is none other than the tusker Buruma Raja belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligawa stable. In the year 2007, the Sri Dalada Maligawa experienced a shortage of tuskers to be crowned as accompanying tuskers to the royal ceremonial tusker, and due to this reason, 2 tuskers were requested by the Diyavadana Nilame from the country of Myanmar, who gifted not 1 but 2 tuskers. And this is the tusker Kaimanthon, who was born in the wilds of Burma, who was gifted to Sri Lanka in the year 2007 and has been one of the most promising and most majestic elephants of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
Following Mian Raja, we see a troupe of Pantheru dancers. The pantheru is a musical instrument that is used as a rhythm tool across all three traditions of upcountry, low country, and Savaragamu. But this pantheru dance is exclusively belonging to the Udurata or the upcountry traditions. And we can identify that with the unique costume they are wearing.
In fact, the costume of the Pantheru dance is one of the simplest attires that are designed in the upcountry tradition, which consists of the white cloth turban, the talisman around the neck, kadukang earrings, bangles and the pyjama trousers. The simplicity of this costume was based on two reasonings, one for being an associated offering to the sacred tooth relic, and for being able to freely perform during the fast tempos. Moreover, the simplicity of this dance brings to mind the simplicity and evenness required in the daily lives of people as the troupe steps forward on the streets of the city. Pantheru came into play as a dance from its origins of the Suvisi Vivaranaya, Pansaliswasa and Ashtamala Bandhanaya, which are all offerings made towards the sacred tooth relic, which contain dance episodes where the dancers perform with the Pantheru instrument, and the same as evolved to the Pantheru dance as a Perahera performance in respect to its ritualistic origins.
And we are seeing two Burmese flags coming onto sight.
Vijita Raja, belonging to Venerable Chet Singhapura Cheti Alankara Theru, the chief incumbent of the Dimbulagala Aranya Senasaya in Polonnaruwa, and on the other side we have the elephant Punchi Banda, belonging to Mrs. Vijayanthi Perahera of Horana. Punchi Banda has been an occasional participant of the Kandy Esala Perahera since the year 2005.
Coming into sight now is a troupe of Udaki dancers.
And these Udaki dance artists are being represented by Mr. M.B. Thinnakon.
Traditional musical instruments of Sri Lanka are sometimes not just used for playing itself, just like the Udakya that we see here in this performance. We do not just see the performers playing Udakya, but they also perform a dance carrying the Udakya in their hands.
The Udakya is an hourglass-shaped hand drum that belongs to the Arthatha category of the Panchathu Rinadaya, since it is played only using hands. The dancers are dressed in the traditional Kandian attire and dances while playing the instrument, along with recitals that glorify the qualities of Lord Buddha.
The red ribbon, known as the savarang, is seen attached to the midpoint of the drum, and it is actually the controller of the drum's rhythm. And in the midst of the dancers dancing, singing and playing, they also need to be mindful of the rhythm that is manipulated using this technique. So this is a fusion of a triple act where they dance, sing and also play the musical instrument.
He is one of the greatest tuskers who shall walk in the Perahera this evening. The Athami of the Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Devalaya, the tusker who performs the duty delegated by the great King Dutugamunu himself. He is none other than Vasana, the royal tusker belonging to the Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Devalaya, who shall add nothing but great majestic value to the Kandy Esala Perahera of 2023.
Coming into sight is the iconic dance performance of the upcountry or the Kandian kingdom.
This is the West Dance. The West Dance we see here is being trained and led by the generations of Mr. Ishanta Ihalavela and Mr. Lasantha Vansekara, and the specialty of this West Dance is to welcome the royal tusker who shall be carrying the Perahera Relic casket, as we have now reached the grand climax of the Dalada Perahera this evening.
This West Dance again serves as an announcement of the impending approach of the most venerated moment of the whole Perahera.
The most unique and the most recognized presentation of the Kandian dance heritage is the most fully adorned West Net tour of the Kandian West Dancer. The Kandian dancer's skill and dance form have been considered as an authentic expression of Sri Lankan culture. In fact, it is the icon of the West Dancer who is the branding identity of the traditional Sri Lankan dancing across the seven seas, despite the presence of many artistic dance performances that are authentically traditional to the Sri Lankan dance. It is amusing to hear that it is the same picture that is illustrated on anyone's mind when they hear the phrase Sri Lankan dance. Dressed in the white Tuppotia costume, this is the Karya Karavana Korala, who is the royal official that holds responsibility for all engagements in regard to the offerings, the Perahera and the Relic casket. The very special orchestra that leads the Relic casket are the Nagasingham instrumentalists, which is an Indian influenced ensemble of music that plays its authentic music to escort the Relic casket. We are now at the much awaited and most devout moment of the Perahera, as we now see the royal tusker ceremoniously carrying the Perahera Relic casket guarded by the Dalada elephants. This evening, the Perahera relic casket of the second Randoli Perahera will be majestically carried by the Tusker Singharaja belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligawa. Singharaja is accompanied by the Dala elephants, Miyan Raja belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligawa and the elephant Kandula belonging to Venerable Kollupitiya Mahinda Sangarakkhita Thero, the chief incumbent of the Kalaniya Rajamaha Viharaya. Let us now take a moment to feel the devotion and worship the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha.
This is the chamber of versifiers or the Kavikara Maduwa, the group of poets who walk behind the relic casket while singing the virtues of Lord Buddha. These versifiers are holding several instruments including the Pantheruwa and the Udakkiya, and the speciality of Kavikara Maduwa is that these versifiers shall only perform when the relic casket is taken out of the relic chamber.
Following the most sacred moment of this Perahera, we see the clan of devotees holding flowers and lamps that symbolize an offering to this relic casket, led by Mr. Samantha Perahera.
The youth we see in this occasion are dressed in the most modest costumes that we shall ever see in this Perahera. A plain white robe that illustrates the simplicity and the modest behavior that is expected out of the true Buddhist, which is even highlighted in the most gentle walk that we see out of these devotees.
There are several forms of offering that Sri Lankan Buddhists pledge as a puja towards the Buddha, and one of its prominent offerings are flowers and incense sticks, which offer fragrance to the Buddha, oil lamps which offer light. And here we see both flowers and lamps in the hands of these devotees, which interpret this episode of the Perahera as an offering of fragrance and light towards the relic casket.
And we see the West dancers preceding the impending approach of the Devadana Nilame, who is the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic.
And these troops of West dancers are being traditionally led by Mr. Sanjeeva Verapitiya and Mr. Peter Surasena. The Kohomba Kankari healing ritual is in fact the prime origin of Kandian dancing that narrates the story of the Hatapas Mangalya evolvement in Sri Lanka, and the West dance is one of the key representations of the Kohomba Kankarya, along with several other interesting dance acts such as the Kandy Esala and the Kohomba Perahera, which we see being performed in other Perahera ceremonies in the island.
While that explains how the West dance evolved as a ritualistic dance in the times of Sri Lankan lineage of kings, the West dance as a Perahera-oriented performance takes down nearly a century.
We now see the lay custodian of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, the 19th Diyavadana Nilame, Honorable Pradeep Nilangadela, who walks with utmost pride and majesty, while bringing in true sense of ancient royalty to this Perahera.
The Diyavadana Nilame is the royal official who granted water to the kings in the history, and is now designated as the lay protector of the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, which makes him one of the truly respected lay leaders in Buddhism in Sri Lanka.
Honorable Pradeep Nilangadela is a devoted Buddhist who is honored internationally for his services rendered towards Buddhism and for his outstanding leadership in preserving Sri Lanka's traditions and cultures for many years ahead.
The Diyavadana Nilame shall walk under the Muthukudaya or the pearl umbrella, surrounded by his army of guards and followed by the Vidane or the chieftains of the 10 associated villages of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
And his army of guards are being represented by the Angampura team of the Sri Lanka Air Force.
We can see the Vidanes of the 10 villages clad in a very unique form of costume, walking behind the Diyavadana Nilame. And that marks the end of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Perahera, opening up the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera. We see the initial rituals being performed at the Sri Mahanatha Devala premises before the requeries of God Natha is being carried onto the streets of the hill capital today.
The Sri Mahanatha Devala in Kandy is located right in front of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, where it is considered as the main shrine that is dedicated towards Lord Natha and one of the oldest buildings in Kandy that was built even before the Sri Dalada Maligawa. The procession of the Natha Devalaya is the first to follow the Dalada Perahera, due to the belief that God Natha is the next in line to attain Buddhahood.
As the first event of this segment of the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera, we are seeing a group of Buddhist flag bearers.
In fact, Chamoda, we saw a very special flag in front, which was the state flag of Matale, being preceded behind the Buddhist flags. And the reason why the Matale Disakodiya, or the state flag of Matale, is carried in the procession of God Natha is to symbolize the birthplace of the current Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, Basnayaka Nilame AWS Bandaranayaka.
While creating a sense of calm and serenity in the minds of the onlookers, the Dhamma of Lord Buddha.
The premises of the Sri Mahanatha Devala in Kandy is recognized as the Jayabhumi, or the land with luck, since the time of our ancestors, based on the indication by an ancient Brahmin named Senkanda. According to this legend, this sage Senkanda has once visited this land and had witnessed a hare being chased by a pack of wolves. And with a flick of a moment, the hare had managed to chase the entire pack of wolves by itself, just as it entered this land. And interestingly, it was because of this same Brahmin that evolved the name of Senkadagara to the city of Kandy. And now we see the arrival of the Hevisi troop of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, led by Mr. S.Y.G. Vijayasena. Just like how the Hevisi troop of the Sri Dalada Maligawa procession engages in their own routine offerings, the Hevisi troops of the four Devala Peraharas are the actual lineages who perform in the daily, weekly, monthly and annual rites and rituals of the particular Devalaya. As Hevisi is not just a part of the Sri Dalada Maligawa's ritual, but is also similarly important to the offerings of the Devala shrines as the men Shabda Puja or offerings towards the respective god. Interestingly, the tunes that are played by these ensembles are the ones that are unique to the respective Devalaya.
The tunes that we hear in the Perahera today are the same tunes which are being played in the daily, weekly, monthly and the annual rituals at the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya Perahera. And it is surprising to see the commitment these individuals provide in continuing these rituals on a daily basis.
the Sri Natha Devala in Kandy is believed to be built as an offering towards God Natha by King Vikramabahu III. The royal buildings including the palace had then been built in its surroundings. We now see the first elephant of the Sri Mahanatha Esala Perahera this evening, who carries the flag of God Natha, and leading the way in the procession this evening is the elephant Rohana belonging to Mr. Varuna Kannangara of Horana. Rohana is in fact an elephant who was captured from the wilds in Mannar in the early 1970s, and interestingly it was the same elephants of the Kannangara family who have been playing the role of the ceremonial elephant of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya for many years.
We are now seeing a troupe of Savarang dancers, which is a dance item which involves these tussles which are used quite often in the Perahera. But this is not the usual Chamara dance that we witnessed previously. The savarama, the main tool used by these dancers, consists of not only one but two tassels attached on both its ends, which makes it a longer version of the chamar instrument. However, the savarama too is meant to serve the same purpose of the chamaraya, which is to fan and cool the impending approach and to worship the requiraries of God Natha.
This troupe of Savarang was led by the Arya Aesthetic Academy, led by Mr. Dilshan Shalika, and now we see a Udakki dance performance that is being trained by Mr. Dhammika Bandara Tennakon.
Udakkiya is a very small form of a drum. In fact, the smallest drum in the set of drums used in the traditional dancing in Sri Lanka.
Now we see the arrival of the Gajanayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya in Kandy, who will be parading on the second elephant this evening. He is on the mount of the elephant Kandula belonging to Mr. Roshan Samarakodi of Maharagama. According to the Perahera tradition, it is also noted that the four Devala shrines too have Gajanayaka Nilam resemblances, where the respective officials shall be responsible for the elephants of the particular shrine.
Following the Gajanayaka Nilame, we are seeing a Likeli performance. The fast tempo that is performed in several episodes of Likeli dance creates the sense of energy that truly creates a battle atmosphere which once again connects the folk dance with the previously old affiliated with the war rehearsing.
This troupe of Lekili dancing is being trained by Mr. H.M.P. Upali Dharmaratna of the Shashikala Aesthetic Academy. We see the third elephant of the Sri Mahanatha Esala Perahera, who is Sudu Mahathya, belonging to the Fort Magistrate, Mr. Tirina Sulochana Gamagi of Maharagama. Chamuda can be noticed how the color of yellow is being signified in many of the elephants and other items that we see in the Perahera this evening of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya.
Indeed, because it's believed that yellow or saffron is the color which symbolizes God Natha.
Next, we see a Raban dance performance that is trained by Mr. Anjana Gamage.
In fact, Nilesh, this dance performance is a bit different to what we saw earlier in the Sri Dalada Maligawa dance performance, where it
The Rabana is at times recognized as a drama of prosperity, belonging to the Arthata classification of traditional musical instruments. Both the Rabana and the Bummedia, which are drums played only using bare hands, are used in the agricultural entertainment and ritualistic activities in the village setup. Similarly, the Raban also takes great dominance during the Kandy and during Sinhala and Tamil New Year. And now we see the elephant Sama belonging to Venerable Uduedamma Lokatheru, the chief incumbent of the Alan Methiniyarama temple in Kirulapana. Sama was born to the elephants Vijaya and Mathali of the Pinnavala Elephant Orphanage in the year 1987, and she was gifted to the Alan Methiniyarama temple by the former president, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksha, in the year 2011.
we are seeing another magnificent performance by a Thammattam performer.
This troupe of Thammattam instrumentalists are being trained by Mr. Jagat of Ridigama. Following the Thammattam dance troupe, we are now seeing the elephant Sumana belonging to Venerable Buralande Vajranyana Theru, the chief incumbent of the Sambodhi Vihara in Colombo. Interestingly, Sumana had not taken part in the Kandy Esala Perahera after the year 2013, and therefore it's quite a special day today since Sumana is joining the Kandy Esala Perahera after a break of 10 years.
following Sumana, we see a troupe of Nayandi dancers trained and led by W.P. Indika Pradeep Valikupara.
The Nayandi dance is said to be belonging to the classification of Rupanatu due to its visual richness in attraction, and this dance is also known as Adaves, meaning half of the West costume, that relates to the special head turban that is worn by the Nayandi dancers.
In fact, it is evident that the costume of these dancers is quite different to those West dancers, but are more or less the same costume of the West dancers,
with exclusion of the headgear. And now we see another elephant who is quite special in terms of name and character. The origin of upcountry dancing depends on the historical character of Kueni. And now we see another elephant who is named Kueni, who hails from a very special family in Kegol, the Millangoda family. The family who used to own the tusker who bore the longest tusks in Asia till the year 2011. First time of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2023 as a participant of the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera.
Coming into sight is a troupe of West dancers who are preceding the impending approach of the requelaries of the god Natha. And this troupe of West dancers are trained and led by Mr. Visuddhi Srinath Verapitiya. In fact, the West dance is more than just a ritual. It is a sacred recitation for protection against misfortune. Therefore, the costume of these dancers are also considered sacred. The most glamorous costume symbolically represents the regalia of King Malaya, the royalty who performed before 2,500 years.
preceded by the chief prelate of the Sri Mahatnatha. Today the ceremonial elephant is the elephant Arjuna, belonging to Venerable Karatota Panyasiha Thero, the chief incumbent of the Vaurukanna Rajmaha Vihara in the Quella, and he is accompanied by Kandula, belonging to Venerable Devalegama Dhammasena Thero, the chief incumbent of the Tissa Maharam Rajmaha Vihara, and the elephant Bandara, belonging to Mr. L.L. Tilakaratna of Kegol. And let us take this moment to feel the devotion towards Lord Natha.
Following the requeries of God Natha, we see another troop of West dancers preceding the impending approach of the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya. In fact, the procession that is taking place in Kandy is a different experience when you watch it from the lines of the streets. So we invite you all to join us in the following 3 days to witness this spectacle walking down the streets of the hill capital.
The West Dance, as a Perahera-oriented performance, takes us down to nearly a century, where it was introduced to the Kandy Esala Perahera by the former Diyavadana Nilame Punchi Bandara Nugavela in the year 1919, where it was just 4 West dancers representing the Suramba lineage had danced in front of the royal tusker carrying the Relic casket to the beat of just 2 Gatabera drums. A century later, the Kandy Esala Perahera consists of not 1 but 10 episodes of West dancing throughout the Perahera, which consists of nearly 200 West dancers. And Chamulda, that is itself a positive sign to realize that the Perahera
Add this West dance into the procession because one would never get tired of this sight of a West dancer.
The role of this particular troupe of West dancers are to welcome the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya in Kandy. And as part of the traditions of the second Randoli Procession, we won't be seeing the Basnayaka Nilame himself, but representing him, today we are seeing the Basnayaka Nilame of a rural shrine. And this evening, we see the Basnayaka Nilame Anura Sudanta Iriyagama, the Basnayaka Nilame of the Vegiriyanatha Devalaya in Kampala, who will be marching majestically under the Mudukudaya. Apart from the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya in Kandy, there are several other shrines dedicated to God Natha, which includes the Vegiriya Natha Devalaya in Kampala, the Dodambala Natha Devalaya in Yatinora, the Paskama Natha Devalaya in Hewahata, and also the most famous Vidiyagoda Natha Devalaya in the Raigam city of Horana. This is the majestic entrance of the Basnayaka Nilame Anura Sudanta Iriyagama, the Honorable Basnayaka Nilame of the Vegiriya Natha Devalaya in Kampala.
And that marks the end of the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera, opening up the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera segment. And these are pictures when the initial rituals are being performed inside the Sri Mahavishnu Devala premises.
The Sri Maha Vishnu Devalaya in Kandy, that is also prominently identified as the Maha Devalaya of the Great Shrine, is the main Devalaya in the hill.
We see the requilities of God Vishnu being carried out of the Devalaya to be placed on the tusker who is tasked with the holy burden of carrying these requilities throughout the streets of Kandy.
The only collection of flags that we see here being carrying in the procession of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devalaya would be the Palat Kodi, or the flags that represent the states and counties of Sri Lanka, according to the ancient administrative divisions that were divided in history. The reason why we see the state flags leading the procession of God Vishnu is simply to denote the fact that Lord Vishnu is the guardian deity of Sri Lanka, and his eye is being shadowed upon all of these states and counties represented by these flags.
Among the diverse religious beliefs that are observed in the island nation of Sri Lanka, Lord Vishnu is a virtuous god who is popularly being worshipped by both Sri Lankan Hindus and Buddhist devotees.
Leading the way in the procession of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devalaya, with the official carrying the Irahanda Kodiya, or the flag of the sun and the moon, is the elephant Taraka belonging to Mr. Kularatna Wijetunka, the chief prelate of the Kaduwela Sri Siddharankadu Pattini Devalaya. Following Taraka, now we see the official Hevisi troupe of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devalaya.
And this Hevisi troupe is trained and led by Mr. Saman Priyantha Arandegede.
The Hevisi troupe of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devalaya is the exact ensemble of Hevisi who shall take part in many important events of the Kandy Esala Perahera, including bringing the cup plant from Alutnur to Kandy for the cup situima, and also the designated ensemble who is tasked with alarming the 4 Devala shrines at the right time when it's time to leave for the Diya Kapila, or the water cutting ceremony, which is one of the final rituals that are conducted on the following early morning at the end of the final Randoli Procession.
Nilesh, when looking at this Hevisi troupe particularly, we can see there is a different type of decoration on their instruments. What is that?
Indeed, when decorating their Hevisi drums, in general thoughts, no one is allowed to decorate their drums as per their own will, but instead all of these decorations are recognitions that are presented by the kings. The recognition given to them by the kings in the way in which they decorate their Hevisi drums, using the tassels or savarang. In fact, as I mentioned, based upon their own will, as the tassels are a true reward of accomplishment that marks their skill-based seniority and popularity among the rest.
Indeed, they are very proud to showcase those decorations on their instruments, since it sends the subtle message that of their experience as part of these traditions.
Certainly, and now we see the Sri Maha Vishnu Devala Gajanayaka Nilame, Mr. Rohanu Nambur, and he is on the mount of the elephant Mutubanda, belonging to Venerable Murundeniya Dhammaratana Thero, the chief incumbent of the Mutiyangana Rajamaha Vihara in Badulla. The Sri Maha Vishnu Devala is always known for best practices of preserved traditions, where we see the Gajanayaka Nilame joining the Perahera in the truly authentic form unique to Devala traditions, as it is the norm that the Gajanayaka Nilame of the Devalayas need to be dressed in the white royal attire with the silver anchors.
And following the Gajanayaka Nilame, we are seeing another troupe of Savarang dancers clad in a beautiful blue attire and trained and led by Mr. Ruwan Talgahagoda.
Dance items which involve these tussles are quite used often in the Perahera. But this is not the usual Chamara dance that we witnessed usually. In fact, this dance, which is recognized as Savarang, is similar to Chamara but with a difference in the prop that is being used.
These youngsters, being the future owners of these traditions, taking on the streets today, is a treat to the eye, and also it stands proof that these traditions will last for many more years to come.
The Nityatal dance school representing the Savarang dance of this Perahera has been part of this segment for many years. And now we see the arrival of two majestic elephants who are joining the procession. Dressed in blue, we see the elephant Bandara belonging to Mr. Sisira Samarakona of Polgahawela and the elephant Muthu belonging to Mr. Indika Mudunkot of Manikkinna. And both Bandara and Muthu are senior participants of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devala Perahera, where they have been parading in the procession of God Vishnu for more than 35 years. Following Muthu and Banda, we now see a Lekeli dance troupe, and this Lekeli dance troupe is trained by Mr. Neil Chaminda of the NC Aesthetic Academy that represent a very senior lineage of dancers.
Throughout this segment of the procession, we can see the color of a symbolic blue being represented throughout the Perahera, and it is because
just as you said, Lord Vishnu is believed to be dark in skin tone, which is the reason why his illustration is shown in the color of blue. His appearance illustrates Lord Vishnu sitting on a mythical bird named Garuda, known as the Gurula in Sri Lankan context, holding a lotus flower, mace, conch shell and Sudarshana Chakra in his four hands, ahead of the great cobra named Shesha. And now we see two young tuskers of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devala Perahera, both Mihin Raja and Rohana Raja, belonging to Mr. Neville Vanyarachi of Kotte, are certainly one of the promising participants of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devala Perahera in Kandy.
and following that duo of elephants, we are seeing a troupe of Pantheru dancers coming into sight. And these Pantheru dancers are very significant in this segment where God Vishnu is being symbolized.
Among the many legends behind the evolution of the Pantheruva, one such story describes how the Pantheruva, which is in fact the Chakrayudha of the Sudarshana Chakra of Lord Vishnu. The illustrated appearance of Lord Vishnu, as I mentioned earlier, shows him holding a Sudarshana Chakra on one of his hands. This is in fact a swirling disc that is considered as the most powerful weapon that could defeat the strongest of enemies. In that sense, the Pantheru dance seems literally affiliated and important to be engaged as a dance to be performed in this episode of the Perahera that is dedicated to
though the panthera looks like a very simple instrument, the symbolism it brings into the Esala Perahera is very unique.
Seeing trios of elephants are one of the significant features of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera. We have Sanju belonging to Mr. Jagat Vitana of Matugama, Charika belonging to Mr. Tusita Ranwak of Deniyaya, the conch shell which we heard as one of the 4 weapons held by Lord Vishnu being pictured in the costumes that are worn by these elephants.
A grand fusion of culture, art and history of the Sri Lankans are now being showcased in the streets of the hill capital.
This is the Udakki dance performance that is being trained by Miss Sirima Tennakon.
We can see this particular troupe of Udakki dancers creating a very unique formation in groups.
Sri Lankan tradition of music introduces 64 types of drums, and the Udakki what we see now is considered as the smallest drum that we find in Sri Lanka. It is in fact used as a musical instrument in healing rituals across all 3 traditions of healing rituals in Sri Lanka.
Indeed, although it is the smallest drum, the sound produced by it is very unique.
The Udakki dance is never complete without the singing of virtues, as we just heard a short while ago. It can be assumed that these dancers are singing the virtues of Lord Vishnu.
Indeed, they are singing, dancing and playing the Udakki at the same time, which makes it a fusion of a triple type of performance.
And now we see the arrival of 3 of the most promising elephants of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera, Gagana, Pillumale and Gamunu Kandula, representing the Pinnavala Elephant Conservation Centre. It was a decision taken by the government to engage elephants of the Pinnavala Elephant Conservation Centre from the year 2017 to the Kandy Esala Perahera, and all 3 of these elephants are in fact participants who graze in the Pinnavala Elephant Orphanage who visit Kandy for the Perahera season.
And following those trio of elephants, now we are seeing the West dancers preceding the requelaries of Lord Vishnu, who are trained and led by Mr. Sarath Ekanayaka.
Upcountry dancing too has its traditional variants, just like Sri Lankan dance traditions of low country and Sabaragamu. These regional variants of upcountry are known as the Kandian variant of Mahanura, Satarakorale variant of Kegol, and the Satkorale variant of Kurunagala. If you listen carefully, we are being able to hear the sound of tamburu or nagasingham, which is being played ahead of the requelaries of Lord Vishnu. We see the chief prelate of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya walking in front of the ceremonial elephant Suranimala belonging to the Alutnuvara Dadibunda Devalaya in Alutnuvara, who shall be carrying the requelaries of Lord Vishnu, surrounded by the elephants Vasana, Mr. W.P. Deepthi Kumar of Biyagama, and let us now feel the devotion towards Lord Vishnu.
These are the most colorful days of the Kandy city because we are witnessing the parading of the sacred relics of Lord Buddha and the requelaries of the gods Natha, Vishnu, Kataragama and Pattini being carried on the streets of Kandy, showering the blessings on all who are onlooking the Perahera today.
Now we see the arrival of the second troupe of West Dancing, trained by the artist Kondadeniya Samansiri of the Samanranga Aesthetic Academy, and they represent the Kondadeniya lineage.
In fact, the tunes played and the movements are different in this West dancing when they are performing and when they are walking.
The role of this troupe of West dancers is to welcome the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya. But as per the tradition of the second Randoli Procession, we won't be seeing the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya, but instead we will see a representation of a rural shrine.
We can see the enthusiastic performance of the West dancers, regardless of the long way they have to go in the streets of Kandy. They always put their best effort to give the best performance for the satisfaction of the people who are lining the streets.
Representing the Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya, we have the Basnayak Nilame Abhita Ratnayaka, who is the lay custodian of the Hanguranketa Vishnu Devalaya. Apart from the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya in Kandy, we see many other several outskirt shrines. While that marks the end of the procession of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya, we are now proceeding to
When the initial rituals are being performed inside the Kataragama Devalaya premises. We can see the Kataragama Devalaya premises is all alight in the color of red in preparation for this procession.
the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya in Kandy is one of the key places of worship that is dedicated to Lord Kataragama in the city of Kandy. And now walking ahead, we see the flag bearers, which contain flags of Buddhism and also the flags of the peacock that are being graced by the Civil Defense Authority of Kandy. Following that, we see the leading elephant of the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya, who is Sankaraja, belonging to Venerable Kokavala Kosala Thero, the chief incumbent of the Sankapala Rajamahavihara in Abilipitiya. Sankaraja, who was formerly named Mihindu, was found as a baby elephant abandoned in the wilds of Mihintale in Anuradhapura. and he was gifted to the Sankapala Rajamahaviharaya in the year 2011 by the former president Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksha.
And we are seeing the hair visit troupe of the street
By Mr. Shanika Ruan Patirana, who hails from the Havisi troupe of the Lalita Aesthetic Academy that is seconded to the service of the Mutiyangana Rajamahaviharaya troupe. Havisi is in fact a predominant form of music that is used for religious veneration in Buddhism and Buddhist affiliated gods in Sri Lanka, and this orchestra too has its own differences, not just in traditional but also according to situations. When the sacred relic casket is carried out of the sandal chamber, the situational variant of Puja Havisi will be played. This shall change to Vadammana Havisi when the relic casket is being carried towards the ceremonial tusker. Once again, it shall be Puja Havisi when the relic casket shall be placed on the tusker, and the Bahirava Valinadaya shall be played when the royal tusker shall step down to the moonstone and thereby change to the Gaman Havisi which you witness now with the commencement of the Perahera. And interestingly, the Gaman Havisiya is the mobile version of the Havisi which is presented in front of us.
Indeed, and it is the Gaman Havisiya that most of the onlookers will be witnessing when they are on the streets.
The Kataragama Devalaya in Kandy is the only out of the Satara Mahadevalaya that is located outside the premises of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, as it is located in the Kotugodalla Vidya, which was known as the ancient Kavikara Vidya, where the poets of the king had used to reside during the times of royalty. Following the Havisi troupe, we now see the Gajanayaka Nilame of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya in Kandy, who is riding on the mount of the elephant Kanchana belonging to Mr. Udara Galapatti of Giriyulla. Kanchana is actually one of the actresses in Sri Lanka who played starring roles in many recent popular movies in Sri Lanka. And following Kanchana, now we see the Pantheru dance performance that is being led by Mr. Nimesh Nimantaka of the Nimesh Aesthetic Academy.
The Pantheru dances we witness in various segments of the Perahera are very unique and different in their each unique form.
We now see another elephant of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya in Kandy, who is majestically dressed in the color of red, and he is Podiraju, belonging to Mr. Chamila Bandaranayaka of Gannoruwa. When speaking of the Bandaranayaka family in Gannoruwa, how can we forget the great Gannoruwa elephant who used to participate in the very same Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya Perahera, being the tallest elephant in Southeast Asia at that particular time.
We are now joining with the live telecast of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Media Bureau, bringing you the pictures of the second Randoli Procession.
cooled by the winds of the Kirimuhuda or the Kandy Lake on one side, and the Udawatta Calais from the right, the city of Kandy is groomed to witness this great procession. And Chamuda, I believe it's the third time that we are witnessing a Savarang dance performance in Nitya Aesthetic Academy.
Indeed, as you mentioned, a sovereign dance was a constant in all the segments that we saw till now.
The choreography of this folk dance, the style of the upcountry tradition, is designed to symbolize fanning that is performed using different dance steps, different stances, and the visual beauty that is created by these tussles in motion are surely a soothing sight to the eye. This dance is performed as a team, just as other folk dances, and this dance too shows several episodes of breaking down into subgroups during the performance. Bridging the change in between upcountry and Hindu traditions of the Perahera, we see the elephant Sita belonging to Mrs. Nilanthi Veerasinghe of Meerigama. Sita was in fact one of the senior Dala elephants of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala Perahera some time back, and it's great to see her back in the procession of God Kataragama.
Among the many different offerings that are made towards Lord Kataragama, Kavadi dance is renowned as one of the most prominent dances of devotion that is performed to impress the kings. Kavadi is in fact a Tamil word that translates to burden in English.
This troupe of Kavadi dance, which changed the entire rhythm and the entire flavor of the Perahera that we have been witnessing thus far, is being led by Mr. Indika Prasad of the Indika Aesthetic Academy.
Devotees believe that Lord Kataragama is impressed by the energy, and Kavadi dancing is one of its key interpretations, where these performers hold the hillocks, known as Kavadi, or a physical burden, a semicircle-shaped wooden prop with a peacock feathers attached to it, on their shoulders, and dance to the fast tempo music in full energy.
While at times the most authentic form paced and a highly energetic dance. When examining the history behind the history of Kavadi, its ancient stories rooted down in Tamil mythology, where Lord Shiva has entrusted the sage Agastya to install two hillocks, the hill of Shivagiri and Shaktigiri in South India.
The task, which was conducted by his disciple Idumban, who lifted this hillock with divine assistance, and at one point when he rested down in the South Indian village of Palani, that is known as the famous shrine of Lord Murugan, he found the hillock being immovable and scuffled with the youth who claimed ownership of this hillock.
Once Induban was defeated by the youth, he realized that this youth was none other than Murugan himself and became his fervent devotee. Following the Kavadi dance, now we are interrupted with a peacock dance instead. And this peacock dance is being trained by Mr. Sarath Aberatna of the Sri Ranamayura Aesthetic Academy.
The vibrance of this procession is multiplied by many with the peacock dance coming into picture. And
Followed by the peacocks, now we see the Kohomba Kalaya or the neem pot dance that is trained by Mr. Mahesh Veerasekara of the Tharindu Aesthetic Academy.
And again, following the comb color, we see another troupe of very young peacock dancers making their way in this traditional spectacle.
The peacock is in fact depicted in traditional Sri Lankan upcountry dancing as the Peacock Symphony, known as the Mayura Vandana, that uses traditional upcountry dance movements to illustrate the charming beauty of the peacock. But this dance is rather a creative dance that is not connected with the Sri Lankan Mayura Vandana, but instead is much similar to the Mailattam dance that is rooted to the South Indian states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu.
The drums we see in the Katharagama Devalaya procession is also under the influence of the South Indian.
We are moving back to another episode of Kavadi dancing, and this troupe of Kavadi is actually quite special as we see more of a Sri Lankan origin of Kavadi, which is segregated into several variants which are known as the Bhakti Kavadi, Kiri Kavadi, Agni Kavadi and Paravi Kavadi, which have their unique features different to each other. And what we see here in the procession tonight is of the variant Bhakti Kavadi, where the uniqueness of this variant is the concept that the hillock is made under much purified practices and is lifted only after being affiliated to the god with 120 peacock feathers attached to it. And now we see the elephant Rani belonging to Mr. Nalaka Jayasinghe of Godagama. In fact, Rani is the most senior elephant who shall be participating in the Kandy Esala Perahera this year.
Following Rani, we see the Katharagama Devalaya procession twisting back into the traditional dance form, which is the Udaki dance.
Lord Katharagama, or god of war, is a divine deity who is worshipped as Kandakumara, Kartikeya or Murugan in South Indian tradition, and as Kandasuridu, Kadira or Katharagama Deviyu in his Sri Lankan cult. He is considered as one of the most powerful deities who has an appearance of 6 heads and 12 hands, who sits on the peacock known as the Ranamayura with his consorts Valli Amman and Devani Amman.
Udaki performance was also a constant among all the segments which we have witnessed thus far, and will definitely be a constant in the impending Sri Mahapatini Devala procession also.
It is believed that Lord Katharagama is the younger son of Lord Shiva and goddess Parvati, and he is considered as an important deity in the Indian subcontinent since ancient times, worshipped as Mahasena and Kumara in North India, and is predominantly worshipped in Asia and Mauritius. here we have the elephant Chutimeniki belonging to Mr. Bharata Amaratunga of Meegoda. We saw Chutimeniki as the Dalada elephant of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devala Perahera throughout the past 6 days, and today we see her having a break in the Katharagama Devala Perahera. While the exit of Chutimeniki brings us to the West Dance troupe of the Sri Maha Katharagama Devala Perahera, led by Gayashan Malagammana of the Malagammana Aesthetic Academy, who is tasked with escorting the ceremonial elephant who shall be carrying the requiraries of Lord Katharagama. If you notice carefully, we hear a very vibrant mix of both the Gataberea and the Tavilberea being played together, symbolizing the cultural unity of Hindu and Sinhalese practices in tradition, which is only seen in the procession of the Sri Maha Katharagama Devalaya, where the ceremonial elephant is not just led by the West dancers, but shall also be escorted by the traditional troupe of Nadaswaram.
Throughout the Katharagama Devala Perahera, we can see the South Indian influence, and this is a living proof that is a fusion of the art and culture of Sri Lanka and South India.
The instruments we hear are equipped with the South Indian mridangam, Shenai pipe and the Tawil drum, while playing music that are venerative songs towards Lord Katharagama. And this evening, preceded by the Iyer or the ceremony of the chief prelate of the Sri Maha Katharagama Devalaya, the main elephant Esala of the Pirisyala Senanayaka Mudalindarama Pirivena shall carry the requiraries of Lord Katharagama, accompanied by the elephant Aruna, belonging to Venerable Higoda Chandhananda Thero, the chief incumbent of the Handal Rajamaha Vihara, and the elephant Gamunu, belonging to Mr. Ratna Siryarangala of Veyangoda. And let us now take this moment to feel and worship the virtues of Lord Katharagama.
And we are seeing pictures of the West dancing troupe preceding the impending approach of the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Maha Katharagama Devalaya. And we can see they are dancing in a beautiful performance, adding color, vibrance and glamour to this second Randoli Procession today.
This dance troupe that is also represented by Mr. Gayashan Malagammana of the Malagammana School of Dance just performed the Narumatra, where the dancers hold the ends of the tail skirts, which is one of the most picturesque episodes of the West dance. The steps of the West dance are highly masculine, which is known as Tandava in technical language. The dance is choreographed in very heavy steps that could only be performed by the strongest of men, and is undoubtedly a dance performance that requires a lot of energy to perform. The audience can not just experience the energy of the West dance, but this is also an opportunity to learn about the highly energetic Sri Lankan men who had evolved since our history in this country with so much of man-made developments. The role of this particular troupe of West Dance is to escort the way for the Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devale, but as per the tradition of the second Randoli Perahera, we see him being represented by a Nilame of a rural shrine.
We can see that this representation of the Basnayak Nilame is in a very similar setup to all the setups that we have seen so far in each segment of the Devala Perahera.
Certainly, and representing the Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya, we have the Basnayak Nilame Asankaranavana, who is the newly elected Basnayak Nilame of the Ganegoda Kataragama Devalaya in Doluwa. There are many outskirt shrines that are dedicated towards Lord Kataragama in the hill country, such as the Ganegoda Kataragama Devalaya in Doluwa, the Wallahagoda Kataragama Devalaya in Gampala, the Ambekke Kataragama Devalaya in Udunuwara, and the Morape Kataragama Devalaya in Pusellava.
As that marks the end of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya procession, we see the start of the Sri Maha Pattini Devalaya procession, and we are seeing pictures when the initial rituals are being performed inside the Sri Maha Pattini Devalaya procession. In fact, Goddess Pattini is the only female representation in the whole Esala Perahera.
The Sri Maha Pattini Devalaya in Kandy is the only shrine of the Kandy and Satara Maha Devalaya that is dedicated to the virtuous goddess Pattini, who is also the only female representation among the guardian deities of the sacred tooth relic.
Up first in Sri Maha Pattini Devala procession, we again see the Buddhist flag bearers, reminding us again and again that this is a devotion towards Lord Buddha.
These Buddhist flag bearers are represented by the Civil Defense Authority of Pallekele. And following the Buddhist flags, we now see the official Hevisi troupe of the Sri Maha Pattini Devalaya, led by the artist Palita Nishanka, M.G. Sirisena and Mr. M.G. Premadasa. Looking at these authentic Sri Lankan drums shall never fail to remind us of the Laksha industry of Sri Lanka that relates to one of the first Laksha artisans arrived in the shores of Sri Lanka with the Duminda Gamnaya, or the arrival of the Jayashri Maha Bodhisattva into Sri Lanka from India. The intricate designs of these drums are made using the Laksha handcraft technique. During the period of the Kandian kingdom from the 15th to the 18th centuries, arts and crafts became highly appreciated and received royal patronage. During this time, the Kandian kingdom was famous for its Laksha industry, including the most well-known area of Hurikaduwa in Kandy.
Indeed, the royal patronage provided for the arts and crafts in the country ensured that we have a rich culture and a reserve of art and crafts for generations to come.
Followed by the Hevisi troupe of the Sri Maha Pattini Devalaya, we now see the Gajanayaka Nilame of the Sri Maha Pattini Devalaya walking up front in the Perahera on the mount of the great elephant Isuru, belonging to Venerable Urlevatte Dhammarakita Thero, the chief incumbent of the Mahiyangana Rajmahaviharaya. An interesting sight that Chamoda you can notice in the costume of Isuru is that wheel made out of the batik fabric technique pictures the 7 births of Goddess Pattini. We see the mango, the dewdrop, the fire, and the snake deer, including the others, that represent the 7 births of goddess Pattini, known as Satpattini, being pictured artistically in this costume.
Now we are seeing the first representation of female dancers in the whole procession.
In fact, this dance can be identified as a traditional female upcountry dance that is represented to the procession this evening by Miss Nadika Asuranatha of the Dandiyama Aesthetic Academy of Mawatagama.
In beautiful movements, these ladies are taking the streets of Kandy, paying no heed to their gentle souls. And it is a treat to the eye to see this addition of female dancers to the procession.
One may wonder if the elegant representations of upcountry dancing is only biased towards the males, as we notice in the dancers of West and Nayandi. This thought is certainly proved wrong with this dance act, which is in fact the same Nayandi dance we saw before, but this time a female representation that is choreographed in a way which suits the feminine or lascive atmosphere that is expected out of a female performer.
The theories of Kandian dance classifies such female dance presentation as Nari Natum, which translates to dance acts which are specifically designed to suit the manner and order of females.
Just as we speak of the manner and order of the female, we shouldn't fail to appreciate the female order that we see before, the greatly disciplined elephant Manike, belonging to the late Mr. Anura Kempitiya of Kegol. A fun fact about Manike is that she is one of the only elephants who would not jump on a lorry to come to Kandy for the Perahera, but would pick to walk all the way from Kegol to the city of Kandy to take part in the Kandy Esala Perahera each year.
I think talking about that habit, we have another tasker to talk about.
Certainly, we can never miss the grace of the great Nedungamuya Raja Tusker, who used to walk all the way from Valiveria to Kandy, and let this be a tribute as we commemorate his absence in the Perahera.
Indeed, with that sweet reminiscence, we are seeing a troupe of Paturu dancers coming into sight.
This troupe of Paturu dancers are being trained by Mr. Nishanta Sanjeeva of the Navaranga Aesthetic Academy of Garnava. Paturu is in fact an upcountry style folk dance that is known for its faster tempo when compared to other folk dance acts that is performed in the country. The dancers have a set of wooden splinters known as Paturu on one hand, and they perform to the beat of the upcountry gatabere drum and the melodious flute, while clapping the splinters on various designated parts of the body. Coming up second in the procession of goddess Pattini is the elephant Sita, belonging to Mr. Roshan Samarakodi of Maharagama. It is the norm that generally male elephants take part, who has qualified herself lucky to be a ceremonial elephant of the Kandy Esala Perahera is this very elephant Sita, who was the ceremonial elephant who carried the requilleries of goddess Pattini in the Kandy Esala Perahera 2014.
Coming into sight is a troupe of female Nayandi dancers.
And this troupe of female Nayandi dancers are being trained by Miss Vindhya Kulasiri of the Jayashani Aesthetic Academy of Gorakadeniya.
Throughout the procession, we saw various other.
A special feature of this dance is the Shirshabharana or the Pine Pata, which is a very special headgear that is worn by the dancers. Just like how the West dancers are ceremoniously adorned with the West headgear, its female counterpart is this Shirshabharana or the Pine Pat headdress that is ceremoniously adorned to the dancers after years of practice in the same festive ceremony known as the Kaleli Mangalya. Therefore, being adorned with the Pine Pata is certainly the highest level of achievement that is aspired by any female traditional dance in Sri Lanka. Entering now is the very friendly duo of elephants, Tharindu, belonging to Venerable Kobawakadaminda Thero of the Kirivehera Rajama Vihara in Kataragama, and Raja belonging to Mr. Asanka Vijayasinghe of Balangoda.
Following that duo of elephants, up next in the Sri Mahapattini Devala procession is a troupe of female Savarang dancers. This Savarang represents the cold breezes which were sent to the relics back in the days of yore.
This troupe of Savarang, which is quite different to the other Devala segments, despite being the fourth troupe of Savarang dancers we see in the Perahera, is due to its female participation. And this troupe of Savarang dancers are being trained by Miss Ajanta Kandegidara of the Sarasavi Aesthetic Academy of Molagoda.
In fact, Nilesh, history narrates that the threads of these Savarang were made from the tail hair of a deer called Semara, which is believed to send the most cooling breezes when they are being fanned at the relics.
As you said, these are not artificial crafts. It is in fact known to be the original tail hair of the Semara deer who had lived in the tips of the Himalayan hills. And now we see the next elephant of the Sri Mahapattini Devala Perahera, who is always known for her graceful walk. And she is Manike, belonging to Mrs. Shriyani Good. She is one of the promising participants of the Sri Mahapattini Devala Perahera of the Kandy Esala festival throughout the years.
Following that magnificent walk, we are now coming to a female Pantheru dance. In fact, the Pantheru has a unique representation in the Pattini Devala procession because it is again believed that this symbolizes the anklet of Sri Maha of the goddess Pattini.
This troupe of Pantheru dancers are trained by Miss Vindhya Kulasiri of the Jayashani Aesthetic Academy of Gorakadeniya. Just like how we noticed a connection between the Pantheru dance and the procession of God Vishnu, I believe that there is a connection between the Pantheru dance and goddess Pattini too, isn't it?
Indeed.
In fact, another origin story of the Pantheru is that this instrument is believed to have descended from the Ginisalaba or the anklet that is worn by goddess Pattini.
Goddess Pattini is famed as the goddess of chastity, and in the Sri Lankan culture, mothers always seek the protection and blessing of Goddess Pattini to protect their children from the unforeseen evils of the world.
Followed by the female Pantheru dance, we see one of the graceful female elephants of the Kandy Esala Perahera. She is Manike, belonging to Mr. HRSU Nishanka of Kegol, who is the former mayor of the city of Kegol in fact. Manike was the official Dalada elephant of the Sri Mahapattini Esala Perahera since many years, and this year we see her walking ahead of the ceremonial elephant instead. And in the trunk piece costume of Manike, you could notice one of the icons of goddess Pattini, which is the Gini Salamba that has been drawn inside the flower that is painted on this dress.
Following that, we are seeing a troupe of West dancers trained and led by Mr. Mithun Bandara heading in front of the requilleries of goddess Pattini.
The dancers who perform in this part of the Perahera are not just random participants, but in fact they have been performing in the Kandy Perahera's lineages since the time of their great ancestors. We saw the ancestral lineages of Talgahagoda, Werapitiya, Surasena, Bandara and Ihalawela to name a few. The dancers who stands in the first line right in front of the icon of respect is the current heir of the particular lineage who shall be heading the dance troupe. Preceded by Chief Prelate of the Sri Mahap, shall be majestically carrying the requilleries of goddess Pattini for the 25th time. Mangala is accompanied by the elephant Parami belonging to Mr. Samantha Vijayaman of Madagoda and the elephant Rani belonging to Mr. Richard Gonakubura of Balangoda. Let us now take this moment to feel the devotion and worship the great virtues of Goddess Pattini.
In fact, we could see a small statue of goddess Pattini being attached to the requilleries.
And now we see the second troupe of West dancers, or more or less the final troupe of West dancers that we shall see in the procession this evening. And this West Dance troupe, who is tasked with escorting the Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya, is being trained and led by Mr. Chandana K. Jayaratna of the Chandana Aesthetic Academy of Matale.
Indeed, saying that we are witnessing the last set of West dancers hints us we are towards the hind end of the procession today.
Certainly. The West Dance too is considered as a Rupa Natuma, which means a picturesque dance act. The visual beauty of a king. In addition, the backflips, single-leg twirls, acrobatics, and leaps are surely the most spellbinding moments of the West Dance. As I mentioned before, the task of this troupe of West dancers is to welcome the Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya. But as per the tradition of the second Randoli Perahera, we will not be seeing the Basnayak Nilame, but instead we will be seeing the Basnayak Nilames of two rural shrines that are affiliated to the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya.
The West dancers are seen dancing with much respect to the impending approach of the Basnayak Nilame, or rather the representation of the Basnayak Nilame. This evening, on the second Randoli Procession, the Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya will be represented by the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya. When talking about the affiliated shrines of the Pattini Devalaya in Kandy, we find the Ambokka Pattini Devalaya in Matale, the Wilbava Pattini Devalaya in Kurunegala, and the Pattini Devalaya of Haugranketa. Here we see the newly elected Basnayak Nilames who shall take strides in the Kandy Esala Perahera for the very first time. The Basnayak Nilame Srimat Bandara Velivita of the Wallahagoda Kataragama Devala in Kampala, and the Basnayak Nilame Bhashana Liyanage of the Alavatugoda Saman Devalaya. I beg your pardon, it should be the Basnayak Nilame Bhashana Kulatunga of the Alavatugoda Saman Devalaya, along with the Basnayak Nilame Srimat Bandara Velivita of the Wallahagoda Kataragama Devalaya in Kampala. As that marks the end of the Pattini Devalaya Perahera, we see the approach of the Randoli or the palanquins. It is the custom that the 4 palanquins, which are called Randoli in Sinhalese, are being carried right at the end of the procession during the 5 nights of Randoli Peraheras. The 4 palanquins represents the queen's identity in the Perahera, and they are in fact represent the 4 Deva.
The palanquin, which is also known as the Randoli or Dolava, is the special carrier that used to commute the queen in ancient times. And this Randoliya takes a very special place in the Randoli Perahera customs, not just in the Kandy Esala Perahera, but also of many festivals across the country.
What you just saw was the conclusion of the second Randoli Perahera.
Let there be timely rains that will bring life-giving water to our fields and ensure a bountiful harvest.
May our country prosper.
Dalada Samindu Pihitai.